Onwards and onwards the Silk Road moves, from east to west, heading in the direction of Valencia and Paris. So many stories, so many staging posts along the way, so many markers, so many indicators. The drama taking us back and forth, spinning like a hoop, rolling like a ball, fluttering in the breeze like a ribbon, twirling like a club. This has been a conversation that will take a very, very long time to digest. These championships have been full of never before seen moments. Nations that have never appeared in a particular event on a particular podium have done so for the first time. People have won things their country has never before won. Barren streaks have been ended. People have placed better than their countries ever placed before in a final. And at the heart of it all, Bulgaria's won everything. In the senior competition, they've absolutely dominated, but we have got 6 gold medals to be decided today. So let's see who can be steady with the apparatus. Let's see who can deliver the performance of a lifetime to win continental gold. Will the Bulgarians cement their reputation as the continent's finest? Will Italy beg to differ? Will Spain head to their home World Championships with gold sparkling in the Valencia summer sun? Or will it be someone else? A nation that's never done this before? Will Israel, fresh from their European Championships a year ago, prove that they can excel on the road and not just at home? First up, the hoop final, then the ball, then the clubs and the ribbon, then a short break, and then the group, single and mixed apparatus finals. All of that on the last day of play at the 39th European Championships of Rhythmic Gymnastics. Welcome to Baku, welcome to the shores of the Caspian Sea, welcome to Azerbaijan, and welcome to all of you wherever in the world you're watching the action from. My name's Ollie Hogben, and it's a great pleasure to have your company. It's also a great pleasure to have alongside me Blythe Lawrence. Blythe, lots and lots of stories to try to digest at these championships, but I suppose the first word of every chapter, and maybe the last word, is Bulgaria.
We saw brilliance from Borjana Kalen, a gymnast who has had her ups and downs over the last 12 months in the all-around final, coming through to take the gold medal. And from Stiljana Nikolova, a gymnast who led the way, who ran most of the race in first place, and only at the very end did the gold escape her. She still got the bronze medal. Bulgarian rhythmic gymnastics at the moment clearly is at the top of Europe, but behind them there are so many intriguing competitors.
And we have the intrigue of apparatus finals today, where we've got qualification results to look at, but also the all-around equivalent performance to look at. We've got some gymnasts who scraped into an apparatus final, and yet in the all-around final yesterday produced a blockbuster performance, improving their score by up to a couple of marks. Equally, we have really high qualifiers for the apparatus finals who struggled yesterday. What does all of that mean? I don't know. Maybe you watching at home do. We'll discover, won't we? Because it's time to begin. Let's hand over to our in-venue ceremonies and sports presentation team.
Evet, hanımlar ve canablar, aziz dostlar, sizi bədii gimnastika üzrə 39. Avropa Çempionatının final günündə salamlayırıq.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, welcome to the final day of the 39th European Championships in Rhythmic Gymnastics.
Yarışlarımıza başlayırıq. Fərdi gimnastların halqı ilə final yarışlarını izləyəcəyik.
We start with individual finals with hoop. Please welcome the finalists.
It's time for the hoop competition to get us started.
Zöhre Agamirova, Azerbaijan.
First of all, it will be Azerbaijan's Zora Agamirova, sixth strongest qualifier. Then Boryana Kalein, the all-around champion from Bulgaria. Adi Katz from Israel, fifth strongest in qualification. Fanny Pignitsky from Hungary, fourth best in qualifying. Top qualifier, Ukraine's Victoria Onoprienko. Eighth best in qualification, but the world and European champion, Sofia Raffaelli. Tiliana Nikolova, the all-around bronze medalist. And Spain's Polina Berezina.
Thank you, finalists.
The seventh best in qualification. The finalists in the hoop competition. The top in qualification was Victoria Onoprienko of Ukraine. However, she was 8/10 down from that in yesterday's all-around final. Meanwhile, Sofia Raffaelli, the 8th strongest in qualification, the world and European champion, was almost 2 marks up from that yesterday.
Medal sayını artırabilirik. Avropa Çempionatının son gününde de bizimle olduğunuz için size teşekkür edirik. Yarışlarımız bilinç ölçüde canlı yayınlanır. Ona göre desteğinizi bütün Avropa izleyin. Aziz dostlar, halka ile finallarda ilk iştirak eden finalçı məhz Zöhre olacak. Azerbaycan gimnastı. Desteğimiz her bir sektörde çok önemlidir.
Thanks to Fatima and Sanan, the arena presenters.
Halka ile final yarışlarında ilk finalçı iştirak edeceği davet olacak halçıya. Məhz bizim gimnastımız, İslam oyunlarının galibi, Dünya Şampiyonatının finalçısı, Olimp oyunlarının iştirakçısı olan Zöhre. Aziz dostlar, qeyd edək ki, bugün Zöhre daha digər iki finalda da iştirak edir və bu möhtəşəm milli gimnastika arenasında bütün bayraqlar dalğalansın dostlar. Çünki dəstəyiniz çox önəmlidir. Ötən gün dəstəyinizlə qrup hərəkətləri komandamız bürünc medal qazandı. Yarışların ilk günündə gənclərdən ibarət qrup hərəkətləri komandamız 2 bürünc qazanmışdı. Bugün növbəti medalımızı qazana bilərik. Əgər siz dəstək olsanız, bu dəstəyimiz lazımdır ki, bizim gimnastlarımız daha da güclənsin, bütün Avropa dəstəyinizi hiss etsin. Çünki bu arena sizin arenanızdır.
He's a man of few words.
Aziz dostlar, karşıya davet olunur. Zöhre Agamirova, Azerbaycan!
Now that's what you call a rousing introduction for the first competitor. Who else but Baku's finest? The best of fortune to Zora Agamirova of Azerbaijan, 7th in the all-around competition, the 6th best in qualification here, with a score of 32.15. But in the all-around final, 29.65, she lost the hoop right at the end. Starting the day off, Azerbaijan, Zora Agamirova. No gymnast
Zora
from her nation
Agamirova,
has ever won a medal in this
Azerbaijan.
event at the European Championships. Really good start, this.
Very, very promising from Zora Agamirova. The crowd absolutely adores this routine. And this week in Baku, she has looked more focused and more intense in delivering these performances than maybe she ever has before. This was no exception. The turning split leaps, passing the hoop under her legs, all of that
dostlar,
gives her
halka
a
açıklarda
lot of
ilk
difficulty,
finalçı
and it
Zohra'nın
was really
işte
nicely
izledik. Çok
executed.
çetin
There
ve
was the
mürekkep
mistake in the
kompozisyanı
all-around final with
getirdi.
the hoop getting
Ve
away from her
biz
right at the end of the
hakemlerden
routine,
neticeli
but there
gözleyecek.
was
Final
nothing like
yarışlarında
that in this performance.
8 güçlü gimnast iştirak edir.
The amplitude
Ve
she was
her
getting
biri
on
medal
those
uğrunda
leaps,
mübareze yapar.
certainly greater
Dostlar,
than the amplitude
nöbetli
in some of the
finallarda da
World
bizim
Cup events
gimnastlar
that we've seen her in.
çıkacak.
Almost as though the
Ve
crowd
onları da
was
bak
physically
böyle
lifting
güçlü
her up into the air.
destek olmak
I mean, she's
lazımdır.
wanted this and worked for it.
Qeyd edək ki, bu gün BT çempionatının son günüdür və bu gün
She's always had
çempionatın
such a
qalan
reputation
medalları da öz
as
sahibini
a
tapacaq.
quiet, focused, industrious gymnast.
She's a true performer. In her personal life, she says, I prefer to listen and not to talk so much. But you put her on a stage, and she's just luminous.
I think that's really well put. And for a gymnast who, at the World Championships in this arena in 2019, had such problems with the hoop right at the beginning of her qualification campaign, how lovely that this is the display she's produced in the final. Now, how close can she get to her top score? This certainly looks stronger than the all-around final. There's no doubt, I think, really about that. Was it quite as strong as the preliminary round? We shall see. Nice, powerful, unsighted catch behind the back, across the scapula.
And she adds another turning split leap. This one, she arches her head back, goes into the ring position.
A nice demonstration there in the slow motion of the classical tour chaîné déboulé from ballet.
And it's important to note also that she catches the
dostlar, biz
hoop
Zöhra
in the middle
Agamirova
of a rotation and the hoop
gözləyirük.
passes
Halka ile
through
final
her
yarışına
body
çıkışına göre
on the catch.
qeyd
All
edək
of
ki,
those
Azərbaycan
things add a
komandası
little bit
Avropa
of zest
çempionatında
to the
artıq
difficulty
3
score.
medal kazanıb. 3 bürünc medal gimnastlarımızın aktivindədir.
Her difficulty score in qualification was 16.
Arenamızda çoxlu sayda azarkeş və gimnastlarımızın valideynləri də var. Eyni zamanda tanınmış idmançılar da bizim Avropa çempionatında təkliflər bizə dəstək olur. Zöhrə və Məhki izləyirik.
Zora
Dəstəyimizi
Agamirova
bir daha alqışla
from
nümayiş
Baku.
etdirək komanda və gimnastımıza.
The shortest walk to work of anybody at these championships, really, because of her time spent living in the boarding facilities in the excellently equipped National Gymnastics Arena. For 6 years, she lived here with her parents and 2 younger siblings, coming and visiting every Sunday. Didn't get to see them very often at all. 4 times we've seen her at World Championship level. 5 times actually at World Championship level. This her 6th European Championships, the 2nd in Baku. She's competed at the Olympic Games, where she placed 18th.
Artıq nəticə nə alındı?
Her score is 31.1, difficulty of 15.1, which is 9 tenths lower than qualification. It will be interesting to see if The Azerbaijan delegation issues a challenge to that.
Representing Bulgaria, Boriana Kalin.
On the subject of people who issue challenges, here's one who threw down the gauntlet to Europe yesterday. There is your champion from the all-around competition. Bulgaria's Boriana Kalin, the all-around gold medalist, second strongest in qualification, 33.45, only 2/10 down in the apparatus final. Very consistent here. Bulgaria is going to make a very good case today to take the hoop title with one of its two gymnasts. And if it does, it will be the first time since the year that the Olympic Games were held in Seoul.
And if indeed one of Bulgaria's two gymnasts does win this title, what a performance it will have been. This was a very good start from Boriana Kalin, who has looked so renewed throughout these European Championships. She didn't have the best start to the year. She went to the World Cup in Athens and didn't quite look herself, coming off of the illness that she suffered in the fall that kept her out of the World Championships in Sofia. And she actually had to take a few weeks off after that World Cup and then recommitted herself to her training. And this is the result. And it's been terrific. She has looked cool and calm, and she has delivered the kind of performances that we always knew she was capable of. She's always been known for her exceptional pivots, but the dynamic elements of rotation like this, where she executes 3 forward rolls before the unsighted catch of the hoop with her feet, are very important too, because it gives her a lot of difficulty. Anytime we see a gymnast doing 3 or more rotations under the flight of an apparatus, you know that you've got a competitor.
And the difficulty score in qualification was 17.2, the joint highest difficulty score of any of the qualifiers. For Boriana Kalin, it's 32.25. She goes into the gold medal position. It is a drop of 1.2 from qualification and 1 from the all-around final. So far, then, in this hoop final, the trend is for lower scores compared to the preliminary rounds. From Israel, 10th in the all-around competition, Adi Azia Katz, twice a European Championship bronze medalist last year.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of these. Sweet dreams are made of these. Sweet dreams, sweet dreams, sweet dreams, sweet dreams.
Don't ever be surprised when Adi Katz is a contender. Now, what will be interesting is to look at the end of that routine and how close that hoop was to actually being over the line.
The line is in. However, if she is out of bounds with the hoop, she will lose 0.3 of a point in execution deductions.
The routine at large was so crisply performed.
There was a kind of aggressive elegance to it. She is so quick and she is razor sharp, especially in her balances. Look at that beautiful front scale, and she holds it for such a long time. The requirement for gymnasts is to hold those balances for 1 second. She looks like she could stay up there for a minute if that's what was required. And really beautiful flexibility on the penché pivots as well.
I think that's a wonderful term, Blythe, aggressive elegance. I think it absolutely describes the work of Adi Katz.
And there's a lot of really deceptive difficulty. For example, that turning split leap where her head went back and the hoop passed through her body. That's one of the most difficult things that she does in this exercise as a single element. And it just blends in to everything that she's doing. The dance, once again, a balance with trunk at horizontal, the head back. It's so hard to hold that, and she's utterly mastered it.
She is, after all, last year's World Challenge Cup champion with the hoop, which demonstrates real consistency over the whole season. Really does accentuate the control she has in those attitude derrière spins.
And 3 forward rolls under the flight of the hoop.
Just say, though, once again, at the conclusion of the routine, she seemed very close to the line. You know what, as we look back at this, the difficulty is very compelling. Now, her difficulty in qualification was 16.4, and you just wonder if actually she might be going well beyond that here.
And the apparatus final is a place where if you are going to pull out an extra stop or two, this is the routine to do it with.
The score for Adi Katz from Israel is 32.6. Please welcome Fanny Bigniski.
The score, 32.6 with a 0.35 penalty for Adi Katz. Difficulty 17, though, up by 6/10 from qualification, so she's in the gold medal position at the moment. Now to Fanny Pignitsky from Hungary, the bronze medalist with the hoop at the World Games in Alabama last year. Fourth best in qualification with 32.25. Great routine this.
Mine, then, now mine, we, now mine, and maybe now. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see. Maybe now. Maybe we'll see.
Rhythmic gymnast and performance artist now, Fanny Pignitsky of Hungary. The metamorphosis has been a delight.
Pignitsky, Hungary.
She's so technically skillful. Added to that, great athleticism, consistency, and now this performative quality.
It's a wonderful performance. Performance being the key word in this. You feel like you are in one of the grand theaters in Budapest watching perhaps a performance of contemporary dance. She can do any style, but this is a very avant-garde routine. The lyrics spoken, that's been a trend in rhythmic gymnastics over the past few years. Really beautiful leaps as well. The switch stag. The hoop is always moving, and she chooses a really varied range of skills. The illusion turn, the sequence that we see a lot, but we also saw a butterfly, a nice dynamic balance.
Fanny Pignitsky in qualification scored 32.25. She wasn't quite at that level in the all-around competition where she finished 16th and the score was 30.85. So it will be interesting to see where this falls with the other two barometers that we've been given so far.
There are one or two places where on the front scale balances she perhaps doesn't quite hold them for a second as is required. Those are small deductions.
31.7 for Fanny Pignitsky, 7.7 for execution. She goes into the bronze medal position. At the moment, Adi Katz is leading the way at the halfway mark. Now we see the top performer in qualification, Victoria Onoprienko of Ukraine, 33.65. Well, in qualification, Victoria Onoprienko absolutely took the bull by the horn. She was the finest. How will this compare? Can she get onto the podium? Choreographically, it is brilliant because there is so much that alludes to the imagery of bullfighting.
And from a difficulty standpoint, it is very well constructed. It's such an intelligent routine because she manages to do difficulty and, you're right, at the same time create the impression of a toreador who is in the middle of the ring.
One of her great characteristics has always been the ability to really get the head back as she leaps and to put height, real aggression and attack into her grand jetés.
She's really got it all. There's the flexibility and there's the cool-headedness, the coordination required to execute these huge throws and catches, to do the necessary, the split leap in ring, and then the unsighted catch behind her back.
The more one looks at this, the better the execution gets, you know. This is really impressive. The pure ballet at the heart of this is masterful. So is the score. 33.25. Victoria Onoprienko has gone into the gold medal position. The last gymnast from her nation to win the title was Anna Bessonova in 2003. And she also was the last to get onto the podium. That was a bronze in 2009. Guess where? Baku. Sofia Raffaelli of Italy, though, might have something to say about that. She is the reigning European and world champion with the hoop. 31.9 in qualification, 8th best, but 33.8 in the final. Very interesting. The all-around silver medalist, Sofia Raffaelli of Italy. As we were just saying at the start, 33.8 in the all-around final. But that was at the exact moment where she seemed to have almost a middle ground between what happened in qualification, which was losing that first launch of the apparatus, and in the all-around final, which was getting it spot on. Here it seemed to be something in between, Blythe.
Yes, it did, and it's interesting to see it again in the final. She does not get the kick that she really needs to get the hoop quite high in the air as she was hoping. Now, she reacts very quickly, manages to grab the hoop, and she minimizes the deduction that she would have gotten had she lost it completely. However, it's going to impact her difficulty, and it's going to impact her execution a bit as well. And then it's so difficult when you have an error at the beginning of the routine, because often as a gymnast, you can't help but think about it. And you're going through your routine and you're going, oh, I can't believe that I messed up at the beginning. But she did a good job of refocusing. There was one other small bobble later on, but for the most part, a really nice recovery here. She has so much to get through. It's such a hard routine to execute well.
It will be interesting when you think about the fact that she missed that first element completely in qualification and picked up a score below 32. She picked up a score of almost 34 when she got it spot on in the all-around final. Everything else around it seemed much of a muchness. So we will now have to assess whether she falls somewhere in the middle of that perhaps, and whether she gets the difficulty credit that she was going for.
It's an element that has given her some problems on the World Cup scene as well, although those problems have tended to come with the ball, but on a similar element, a throw from elite.
32.05 for Sofia Raffaelli. Fourth position. It was higher than in qualification, but not by much. So that means that as things currently stand, we have got Onoprienko, followed by Katz, followed by Kalane, with 32.25, the number required to get onto the podium. Now to a gymnast who produced in qualification 32.85, but in the all-around final 34.7, bronze medalist Iliana Nikolova.
Quasi quasi te lo dico, quasi quasi all'infinito, ti dico mamma. Stretti tra le braccia, con in faccia la bellezza, e dagli occhi va nel cuore. L'amore che muove il sole nel Mediterraneo. L'amore che mi fa
She could not have given more to her pursuit of the all-around title yesterday. It's Iliana Nikolova who won the bronze medal for the second consecutive competition, and it just didn't quite happen to anything like the level she was aiming for here when she was so good yesterday.
She has such technical prowess, and most of the time her skills, I mean, they don't just look good, they look nearly flawless. And when you do that, it just throws the errors into sharper relief. She was a bit off throughout the routine, but nonetheless, she really puts on a gorgeous performance. Her side scale pivot, one of the very best in the world. There's a beautiful open quality to her illusion turns. She will have other chances today.
She is still such a young athlete. She still has this enormous career ahead of her.
We have the score for Stiliana Nikolova with
28.7 for Stiliana Nikolova. I can tell you that that means that having won a team silver medal yesterday, Victoria Onoprienko is guaranteed at least a silver medal here, with just one gymnast to come. We have now a gymnast who scored 32.3 in the all-around final yesterday with this routine. If she gets that now, she'll win the bronze medal. This is Paulina Berezina of Spain. And this is a wonderful way to conclude the hoop final. It is a beautiful routine. And it's clever too. Errors to one side. It is such a terrific piece of rhythmic gymnastics theatre from Paulina Berezina of Spain. Her time will come. She will be at the World Championships in Valencia. Just a shake of the head from the 25-year-old as she departs.
And it really goes to show, doesn't it, how although most of the time these routines look so effortless, how much work and will really goes into making them that way. For Paulina Berezina, this was not her day, but as you said, she has time. The World Championships are coming up in her country, and this is an experience that she can take and use to make herself even better. This was the place where it began to go wrong. She had a trajectory error and nearly puts a toe out of bounds. And if indeed she did go out of bounds, the deduction will be 0.3, but the trajectory error will be at least that.
As things stand, it is Boriana Kalane, the bronze medalist from last year, in third place. Adi Katz in second place. And Victoria Onoprienko leading the way and looking, one imagines, set to take the European title. such a popular gymnast, Polina Berezina. She was 8th in the all-around competition. And if anyone has illustrated that there's always one more opportunity, if you work for it, it's Polina Berezina. We just remind ourselves, 30 World Cups she competed at before she took a bronze with the hoop in Athens at the start of the year. A master at playing the long game. 28.65 for Polina Berezina. That has her in 8th position, and it means that Victoria Onoprienko of Ukraine has just won her first major international title. The 19-year-old has taken the gold medal in Baku. Victoria Onoprienko, who has lost family members defending their country, has just proven her toughness, her indefatigability, and her brilliance, for she is the champion of the continent. The silver medal goes to Adi Katz of Israel, and the bronze to Boriana Kalane of Bulgaria. It has been a year for Victoria Onoprienko that simply virtually none of us can ever imagine, can ever contemplate. When we talk about people having suffered, having endured tragedy, having endured heartbreak, even those words are not strong enough to voice what she has been through. Tough as anything, and a worthy champion of Europe. Let's have a look at your medalists and how the title was won. Boriana Kalane taking the bronze.
Teşekkür ederim.
The silver to Adi Katz of Israel. That's her best ever finish at the European Championships. Huge congratulations to her. And there, the champion of Europe, Victoria Onoprienko of Ukraine.
Hanımlar ve canlar, yarışlarımıza devam edelim. Ferdi gimnastların topla final yarışlarını izleyeceğiz.
We continue with both final of individual gymnasts.
And that was just the first final. Now, the ball competition.